Okay, hi Facebook, I'm back again. Sorry about my last attempt at going live. I'm having some kind of connectivity issue and I dropped signal, but that's fine. I'm tired. I was up late and I just got some rest. I'm still waking up and I'm not, I wasn't firing on all cylinders anyway, so let's try this video again from the top. What I want to talk about is this brouhaha around this issue of mandatory versus discretionary spending. That is what this whole argument that is manifesting on social media is coming down to. So the Republicans were not in favor of the PACT Act. They wanted to support this alternate bill. The other VSOs have been online with supporting this other alternative bill. The difference between the two bills is the PACT Act provides an awful lot of money. It is very expensive. Everybody is using the number $400 billion. Okay, let's call it $400 billion. That is what it's going to cost to make the PACT Act go. This other bill, the nutshell version of this thing is it provides research and some, screening options, and there's some good stuff in there, but it doesn't save anybody's life today. All right, I've been in this battle for an awful long time, and the word research has been the key term that's been getting kicked around forever and ever to kick this thing further down the road. That's where we are here with this again today. Senator Toomey's position is he is concerned that there is a loophole, as he's calling it, which is just smokescreen bullshit language. It means absolutely nothing. That there is a loophole that mandatory, by classifying this law as being a mandatory spending item, that there's this big pile of money that could somehow be used for other things. Well, what does that mean? Well, that is true. That is not untrue. But here's the context of this being true. If there are 100 veterans that are needing service from the VA, and the government decides that in order to service those 100 veterans, this example is going to cost that $400 billion, then that money is there. Now, the law outlines what this money has to be spent for, okay? Now, if the time should come that you have 25 veterans, right, in this example, that are needing to access this care, that same amount of original money is still there. That money is allocated, and we may only need, $50 million to do that, right? So what happens to all the excess money? Well, Congress would then, of course, reappropriate this to whatever. We have 3.5 million veterans. We're not at 100. We're at 3.5 million in the pipeline, and this stuff is a time bomb. It's going to trigger at some point down the road. We don't know how many people are going to need what when. That's where Congress would come in. If we do find ourselves in that situation where only the 20 veterans would need to have this money go through, then it's up to Congress to decide what to do with that money. Would it be a feeding frenzy of people trying to spend money? Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty reasonable concern. That's where your job as an American citizen comes in, to be civically engaged and tell your representatives and your senators what you want funded and how that should be, and then hold them accountable. It's as simple as that. So what does discretionary funding mean, right? Why do they want this to go to discretionary funding? Discretionary funding, in principle, would mean that if you have 100 veterans that are needing this help from the VA, it would be up to Congress to figure out how much money is going to take to go. Maybe that first year it is the $400 billion. Well, I'll let you sort out that scenario in your own mind. That's not going to happen. But if that discretionary spending is there, then the next year, they only need 20 veterans. They can reappropriate that money. So both of these different examples are different ways to come at the same problem. But this is being turned into a political ploy because the Republicans have been against this bill all along. So they are saying, hey, this mandatory spending can open up these holes to do that. Well, guess what? The Congress is still going to spend money. It may not go to you in a discretionary sense. It may go to some other item. Either way, Congress is going to blow money. I think everybody can get on board with the fact that Congress doesn't do a particularly good job as stewards of our taxpayer dollars. So I think we're all still on common ground there. Where's the danger in this? I'll tell you. If they have mandatory funding, that money has to go there. They have no choice in the matter. That money has to go to the veterans. If they go with discretionary spending, then it's up to whoever is doing the budget for that year. That's where it's dangerous. Take a look at tribal Indian colleges. I was so lucky as to have ran a campaign for a tribal Indian college, which is one of those laws that's on the books that is under discretionary spending. The end result, Congress doesn't give a shit about Indians in education in colleges, so they end up having an allotment of around $6,000 per student on the annual to fund that college. Now, the only person that's ever been treated worse than the American Indian, and I don't think you really even qualify that as veterans. I mean, I guess you can make that case, but that's still a pretty big statement. I mean, Indians been screwed over pretty hard. But yeah, they're willing to cut our throat, right? Took 50 years for Agent Orange. We're on year 22 or 21 with this issue of military toxic exposures. Writing's on the wall is pretty clear. So if we're still quibbling over the benevolence of the government and what they're willing to do or not do for veterans, that's the part people need to be thinking about when putting all this stuff into context and how to view it. So let me go back and summarize this whole thing one more time. Mandatory spending funds a bill and it has to be spent. It's there. Discretionary spending, it's whatever they want to do. So now let's talk a little level deeper. What's really going on here? Toomey is against the PACT Act. He's using this as a way to whip up sympathy. He's not even really trying to justify what they're doing, because once you look at the issue in context, you cannot justify this. So he's trying to whip up sympathy, or at least now it's being used. Like Ted Cruz is doing the perfect job. They're trying to put out sympathy to get people to go along with their thought process and why they're making the decisions and why. And it's just to provide cover for the fact that they do not support the PACT Act. Ted Cruz is online now saying, I have always supported the PACT Act. Bullshit. He just kicked us out of his office 2 days ago. I wasn't there, I was en route, but Tim and all the rest of the crew that were down there, they called the cops and had them escorted out of the Capitol. That's how interested they are in the PACT Act. Open your eyes, open your brain, think about this critically. That is why mandatory spending is appropriate in this instance. It takes the power of political shenanigans out of the hands of the Congress, and it ensures that the money for the veteran is in place to make this bill go. I wish I was a little more clear-headed at this particular point in time. I'd like to probably take another stab at this to try to communicate my thoughts out a little better. But that's the long and the short. If you have any other questions about that, or I'm not real clear, ask it in the comments. I'll be happy to address it by text. I could probably do a lot better job of it. But that's basically the answer. So I hope that's helpful to everybody. I hope that starts putting you on target. Maybe if I get some good questions in the comments, I'll redo this explanation. I'll try to put it out a little more coherent way. I'll get some food and liquid in me, and I'll be a little more able to speak to it a little better. And we'll try it again. So help me out. Thanks, guys.